Ready?
Yeah, I'm ready. Let's start. So, hello, you guys. Good morning. Welcome to today's session. We're gonna talk about a lot of interesting stuff today. This being the second one in the series, so we'll be talking about Elizabeth is gonna, help us all learn how do you drive more app downloads with Facebook ads. So we are going to be covering a lot of burning questions like uh, how do you even set up app install ads? What is the right budget? How do you come up with really good creatives and how to target the right people? Like I was reading a post in the hub. Uh, you know, like one person could not even get like the only audience they could reach was out of their demographic, not even the country that they are targeting. So we're going to address all of those questions. We'll also have a question and answer session at the end. So and I'm like super happy to introduce you to Elizabeth Brescia here. So I don't know, like does she even need an introduction at this point? Like I'm seeing so many people telling her hi, waving hands, and it's like you know all of these guys. So
I,
so
I do love this community. So
yeah. So for those who have no idea who Elizabeth is, she is the founder and CEO of Grit and Grace Co. It's an agency that helps retailers and e-commerce stores with their digital marketing. She is a former boutique owner, and so you know that everything that she's gonna say is tried and tested. So if you have any questions, the chat box there. We have a team who will be manning the chats. Like you can also make notes of the questions and ask them at the end. So yeah, let's get started. Handing over the metaphorical mic to you, Elizabeth.
Sounds good. I'll take it. So first of all, thank you all so much for your time. I know that we're all busy business owners, so I really appreciate it. And I hope my hope for you today is that you'll be able to take away some action items. Theory is a really good thing, and I do want to talk about a little bit of theory, but I want to make sure that you can also leave and feel like you've got some things to do that are going to help you grow those installs, really quickly. So today, like Venkat said, we're going to talk about how to get those first 1,000 app installs. He already introduced me, but just a little background to, I do own Grit and Grace Digital Marketing, and we help boutiques and e-commerce owners grow through Facebook ads and email marketing. We're an agency partner with Facebook and ManyChat expert and email marketing specialist, and I'm also e-com marketing specialist. One of the things that I like to talk about, and I think especially in the climate today, is although we're a marketing agency that focuses on Facebook ads and email marketing, we are first problem solvers. Our biggest objective is to help businesses grow their audience and their revenue. What we have realized is, although our mission is going to stay the same, our model might change. And honestly, that's one of the reasons that we love working with Vajro. We see that over and over again, that they also are problem solvers. If you've been with Vajro very long or you're just joining, you will see that they're adding features all the time that are created not only to help make your life easier, which is a really good thing, but they also are, created to help you grow your revenue, which of course is, typically our number one objective as small business owners. Our mission with Grit and Grace has always been to encourage and empower boutique owners to provide their families with the income they need and the time they deserve. And again, I love how that mission really matches with what Vajro does. For example, we had a client come to us once, and she had built this fantastic business, a boutique, but her biggest pain point was she was a mom with little ones and one on the way, and she was sending invoices for $20,000, $30,000 a month in PayPal invoices, which makes me have heart palpitations. As we know, if you've sent an invoice through PayPal, it's definitely time consuming, and it's definitely not a way to scale your business because it takes a lot of time. And when you are focusing on sending PayPal invoices, you are not able to, although that's an income producing activity, it really dominates a lot of your time. And what this client said to me was, what I really want to focus on, I've just gotten this new Vajro app. It's amazing. What I want to do is I want to build my app installs. So I'm not sending those invoices. I'm sending people to my app. And so I thought that, really, again, speaks to our hearts at Grit and Grace. And it really shows the power of Vajro. You can use that app instead of spending all that time invoicing. You can use that app and you can send them to your app. They can get to know you, all the good things. But first, it's all about, building those app installs so you can get your audience on your app. So it's one of those things where we want to say, if you build it, they will come. And that's not necessarily true. They will come, but sometimes it takes a few steps to get them there. So build that app, and then let's talk about how to get more people on the app. So today, just kind of an overview of what I'm going to talk about. I do want to cover why it's important to grow that app base. Most of you are probably really sold on your app and why you're using it, but I just want to reinforce to you what we see in the agency side and why it is so important to grow your installs as quickly as possible and as deep as possible, because it's really going to make an impact. I also want to talk, about the how are we going to grow those installs? I want to talk about the last is really going to be really focusing on those specific ads to installs and the steps that you need to do. Actually, the steps that you need to do right now, if you haven't done those, even if you're not ready to run those ads to get installs right now, these are some steps that you can do today to make sure that you are ready. So when you get those installs, they're going to make the biggest impact on your revenue. So here we go. So the first, for some reason, there we go. The first is, really, I think sometimes, we think, okay, we've got this app. Like I said, it's kind of, we built it. Now people will just start running to it. And your great base, the people that really are invested in your boutique or your business, your e-com business, probably will, be pretty quick to install the app because those people know you, like you, and trust you. But these are just a few reasons why we really encourage you to have that long-term investment mindset in your app. The first is, it is so important to build your audience off of Facebook. I'm so thankful for Facebook. I know personally it's allowed me to build my boutique and now Grit and Grace. It's been an amazing part of my business. But what I also know is I cannot rely solely on Facebook. I remember the great Facebook outage, I think it was a few summers ago, when boutiques were scrambling, because if you had no other way to communicate with your audience outside of your Facebook group or page, you really were struggling. And it was a panic moment. And I would say that was a good moment for all of us to realize we've got to look at different ways to build our audience, whether that's, email, SMS, but a huge place to build that is in your app, because your app gives you so many tools to reach that audience. So, I think it's really important for us. Again, I own an agency that works in Facebook ads. I know Facebook's important, but I still believe that building that audience off of Facebook is going to serve your business long-term. Building the audience that you own is huge. One of the things that we love about investing in the app is that we see historically app users are really valuable shoppers compared to people that shop, just on our site, and even people that shop in store. We see that if someone is going to install your app, they're going to be worth a lot of money, sometimes a few times as much as the others. So if we can build those app bases really strong, we know that's a really valuable audience. And the third reason is something that I think is really important, and it's we see often that the app is a really quick path to know, like, and trust. So basically, when we're looking at audiences, we have our cold, our warm, and our, then our customer base. So that cold audience doesn't know you, doesn't like you, doesn't trust you. But if we can target them and we can get the app on their phone. And we can send push notifications. We can do fit videos. We can do lives. It's really a fast forward button on that know, like, and trust. And we see if we can get the app on their phone, we know that it's going to be a really great way to build a relationship really quickly. The more people that we can get on the app, the quicker we can build that relationship, the more we're going to see your revenue grow. So again, if you are looking at your app as kind of a, you get it and it's going to work on its own, it does, you do need to really focus on building your install, because you want to have an audience there that you're speaking to. So again, these are, kind of our top 3 reasons why we would encourage you to invest in your app, not in the, and invest in that audience that you're building. So here are 3 ways. There are a lot of ways to grow your installs, but the 3 that I want to cover today. The first is organic. As much as we're going to talk about, ways to grow through paid advertising, I still want to talk about ways that you can grow your app free, because the reality is that's still very important. And, for our clients, even though, again, we focus on Facebook ads and email marketing, we focus on paid strategies, we know that growing in ways that are free and that are going to come really easy are very important too. Second, we're going to talk about is warm traffic, and I'll explain that a little bit more. And then also we're going to talk about those Facebook ad app installs. So the first is organic. If you're not doing these things, these are just, again, quick ways. But I look at this audience, this first group of people that you're going to get to install the app. They're that very low hanging fruit. I love looking at marketing in that context of the low hanging fruit and then the cold traffic. It's really, they're basically, cold traffic are the seeds. They're going to take a while. They're going to be more expensive to convert. They just take a longer time to convert. With this organic, when we're focusing on the audience that we already have and we're able to really convert them very quickly in our app, we're going to see that app revenue grow really quickly for a few reasons. One, if we can grow them through this audience we already have, we know those are people that typically are going to spend quicker. There's no trust issues. They're just looking for another way to shop with you. We also will see that they buy more. We see over and over again that our existing customer base spends more. They have a higher average order value. They shop more frequently, and they're also more likely to experiment with us. They're going to trust us when we bring in new products that might be new to them, because they already know us, like us, and trust us. Just a few ways to do this. If you have a brick and mortar, have a QR code at checkout. Encourage everyone that comes into the store to install that app. What I love about that interaction is that you can really very quickly train them how to use their app. We'll talk to a lot of boutique owners that have brick and mortars, and they'll say, I don't have a very high tech crowd. And I get that, because there is an audience that an app may feel a little bit foreign to them, and they may just need a little bit more touch points before they feel comfortable using it. We know in the marketing space, I love, a confused mind says no. And so our job as business owners is to minimize that confusion. So again, when someone's checking out, make sure you have a QR code that links directly to your app. What that's going to do is it's going to make it really, really easy for them to do that. Pinned posts in your group or your page are always a good thing. Again, that's an audience that you already have. You want to make sure to make good use of them. If you send emails, which we definitely encourage you to do, that is a great way. When I send emails for clients, I talk about that app in every single email. Not necessarily is it always the main part of the email, but it's definitely a focus, because we know that apps are such a great way to shop, and we want to make sure that we continuously talk about the benefit of using our app. I think sometimes one of the mistakes that we make in small businesses is we think we've said it once and everybody hears it and remembers it. If you're a mom or a dad, this is not true. If we think about the times that we repeat things to our children, and I'm not calling our audience children, I'm just saying that a lot of times it's really important to be very repetitive with our message. Sometimes it can be a little frustrating, but again, with the algorithm or just with people's bandwidth, sometimes they don't get it the first time. So, don't give up. make sure that you're continuously, pushing those app installs, because they will continue to grow with that continued effort. I would say every time you start your lives, if you're a boutique doing lives, talk about your app, talk about the benefit of using your app. You can talk about the rewind feature. You can talk about, hey, in our app, we do fit videos. If you are not quite sure if this item is going to fit you, go to our app, because we're going to do a fit video and we're going to describe exactly how this item fits. Our goal too is to eliminate any doubt that they have, so they have total confidence in making that purchase. So when you're doing your lives, make sure you're talking about the benefit of the app. I am a believer, especially when you're first launching your app, I think giveaways and initial discounts are a good thing. Giveaways, we know, drive, if we're, building that app base as quickly as possible. It's a really good thing. We want to build reviews in the app store. We want to build that social proof. And so when we do giveaways, it's, especially if we're doing a generous one, you may not, I think sometimes what we do is we look at giveaways and we think, I did a giveaway and I only made one sale, or, I didn't necessarily see that initial boost that I wanted to. But if you're doing a giveaway with app installs and you're building that app install base, and then you're using push notifications and you're going live in the app, you are still building that relationship. And although you may not see that initial huge influx in revenue, you will eventually see those efforts pay off. And again, if you're able to build that base quickly and get those reviews, you're building that social proof, which is in the space that we live in now. Social proof is a huge part of running a business. We want to make sure that we are showing our audience exactly who we are. We're building those relationships. One of my favorite marketing quotes is, people don't buy why you sell, or don't buy what you sell, they buy why you sell. And so we want to make sure that we are very clear on who we are. And again, the app really offers us a space for that in going live, and also those fit videos. Again, going back to initial discounts, I think sometimes we think if we don't want to build customers that are just looking for discounts. It's true. We don't, those people that are just constantly seeking a discount, they're going to be there. But we also want to look at that initial discount as customer acquisition cost. If we can give somebody a 20% off discount, get them to install the app, and they're ultimately a $300, $500, $700 lifetime value customer, it was well worth that initial $10 discount. So we want to look at the math and make sure the math makes sense. Again, I think looking at that initial discount as part of that customer acquisition cost. Kind of the touch base on this, and we'll get a little bit further into it with the budget. But a lot of times as boutique owners, we have grown so well organically. If you have a great friend and family base, a lot of times you can build your business really quickly, and you don't typically have to pay for marketing. So I think when we look at those initial discounts, or we start looking at customer acquisition cost, we think, well, I never had to buy a customer before. When Target looks at those things, and H&M and these big businesses, they have to pay for that customer acquisition cost. We as boutiques, because we're built so much on relationships, a lot of times we can have a little sticker shock when we think about, well, how much should it cost to acquire a customer? And so we think about, if it costs us $10, $20, $30 to acquire a customer, to us, it seems extravagant because we've never had to pay for customers before. And that's amazing that you've been able to grow through organic growth. But the reality is, as you continue to grow, it is going to cost money to acquire those customers. Giveaways and initial discounts, or, friends sharing, there's still growth to be had organically. But I think it's really a mindset shift when you look at that, moving into Facebook ads. It is going to cost to acquire customers. If you do things well and you pay attention to your costs, it's going to be well worth it. I always say, with return on ad spend, or customer acquisition cost, if I gave you $20 and you gave me back $500, because say it costs $20 to acquire a customer, that's $500. If I gave you 20 and you gave me 500 back, I would hand you $20 bills all day long. So, think about that and try to make that mindset shift if you are new to paid ads. That is not all about, that that free growth that you've had is amazing, and you will still see some of that. But paid advertising makes a lot of sense as long as you can look at the math involved and make sure that you are making a profit. So keep that in mind because it's really important. The next, excuse me. So this next is a little bit different, and it's really talking about building on other ads. So towards the end, I'm going to talk about direct app installs that are really important. But today I want to talk to you if you are running like retargeting ads, even if you're running basic retargeting ads, or basic prospecting ads. So you're sending cold traffic to your site, not necessarily your app at this time. Maybe you're just launching your app, or maybe you're still considering, adding an app, which this is my PSA, get that app because it's really going to be a great asset to your business. But so you've got this warm traffic, you've got these people coming to your site, you've got new customer acquisition going on. What we love to see is apps being built on the back end of those. What I call that is really that icing on the cake. So we're running prospecting ads, we're getting new customers purchasing. What I want to encourage you to do is look at your post-purchase emails. I want to make sure that everything that you're saying to your customer is, so they're a new customer, you want to build that relationship. You want to think about, hey, how is the quickest way we can get them to come back and purchase again? And doing a post-purchase email and really selling the benefits of your app is a great way to, get that first purchaser to be a lifelong customer. A lot of times our job as ad agencies is to bring you more, we want to make sure that we are, bringing you more customers. When you get those new customers, although we can retarget them, nurturing that relationship is a lot on you. And, we want to tell them how great you are. We want to bring them to you. And then we want you to keep that conversation going. So that post-purchase email is a great time to really talk about the app and why they should use it. Another way to build on that prospecting traffic after they've made the first purchase, when you send the product, you want to send that thank you card. I think that's a really important part of small businesses, is to send a thank you card. We encourage you to put a QR code on the back of that card that links directly to your app as well. Like I said, at the brick and mortars, I think it's really important to have the QR code at checkout. When you're sending packages, this works really well for brick and mortars that have an e-commerce presence, or if you're solely online, make sure that you have that QR code in the packaging, selling them on that next purchase. Again, that initial discount can be a great thing. I saw this week, Basker posted in the hub that they're, with that app only discount, this is a great time to use this. They're not going to be able to go to your site. It's really, enticing them to get on the app and use it and show them how easy it is. So get them to make that first purchase on the app. What we typically know there's a lot of repeat customers. Once we get them on the app, we know that they're going to keep coming back over and over again. So getting that first purchase is really important. If you're running ads to grow your group, which is a really effective way to grow, make sure you're posting and talking about the app a lot too. Again, this is icing on the cake. This is not necessarily, in this case, this is not necessarily the objective, is not the app install, but it is the residual benefit. So it's really getting the very best bang from that ad spend by doubling up your efforts. You've got them where you want them, and now let's get them onto the app. Another way, again, is lives. If you are doing live sales and you're running ads with the live sales, which honestly is an amazing way to grow your revenue, make sure, again, that you're talking about your app. Say, hey, this is the best way to shop with us. Or, hey, you're not catching the live, you can catch the replay, or install that app and you can shop 24/7. It's right on your phone. Again, I think speak the language of your audience. If your target audience is moms, hey, are you stuck at soccer practice 3 times a week? Install our app and you're going to see our new arrivals. We're going to send you a push notification when they're there. We're going to send you push notifications when there's a sale. Sell that app really well. Think about who your people are and make sure that you're speaking the benefits that are going to appeal to them the most. So again, using that warm traffic, using those new customers, making sure that that app is a huge piece of your follow-up efforts, because again, you've gotten that first conversion. That's a really hard thing to do. Cold traffic making purchases is tough. So once you've got that first purchase, if you are able to get them on the app, even after the fact, it's a great thing. It's going to really impact your revenue because you've got a fantastic way to talk to them. Back in the day, just a few years ago, one of the really effective ways to grow your business was to grow your page. So you would get likes. It was very popular to buy likes. The reality is, you can grow your page now, but there is not as nearly as effective way to grow that relationship as there is through growing your app. I really look at apps as kind of the new group, or kind of even the new page, because again, they're a tool that can be used so effectively to grow your revenue and your relationships. There's so many, great parts of having the app. You want to make sure that you are really investing a lot of time too. We know groups can take a lot of time and effort, and really look at your app like that as well, because the potential to drive a ton of revenue is really there, and the effort is really going to pay off. So let's talk now about those app install ads, and kind of the pieces to that puzzle. What's important to think about, what's important to do now. If you are not running app installs, what can you do right now to prepare to run those app install ads? What, again, are the pieces of the puzzle that are going to make an impact on your cost, and that are going to make an impact on your effectiveness as well? So the first piece of the puzzle is copy. And honestly, this is something that when I talk about action steps, I want you to do this as quickly as possible. I want you to think about your app, and again, going back to who are you speaking to? Who is your audience? What is the benefit that you are selling them? If you are writing copy for app installs to a cold audience, you really need to make sure that you are you need to know your voice. We want to make sure that copy that, when we're running ads for clients, we have an amazing copywriter, and her job is to get to know the brand really well, to get to know who our client is speaking to, how they speak to their audience, because we want to make sure when we're writing that copy and they, this new cold traffic, this person that's never heard of you, when they read it, we want to be speaking to that ideal customer. We want to make sure whatever we're writing, when they see that and then they go to your site, they go to your lives, they go to your app, they feel that's very continuous. So there's no disconnect in, I've seen ads where I'm like, you read it and you're like, oh, it sounds pretty good. And then you get to, the intended destination, and you see that it is completely disjointed, and you realize maybe this is not for me. So when you are, articulating why someone should install your app, whether that's organically or through paid ads, you want to think about who am I speaking to, and what is the benefit I am selling them. You do want to think, is this cold traffic versus warm? Obviously, I was speaking to a client last week and we were talking about some copy, and she said, in cold traffic copy that we were creating for her, she wants it to sound very, herself. She wants it to sound like their brand, but she also knows that when she gets there, that warm traffic is probably going to look a little bit different. When we're retargeting someone, they know our brand. So we can use a bit more familiar language than we can in that initial cold traffic, still being, again, feeling very continuous with it, but maybe feeling a little bit more personal. It's kind of like the, when I lived at home and I was talking on the phone, my sisters would always say, I know who you're talking to by the voice that you're using. We all have that tone of voice that we use, maybe with, I have a client voice, probably. When I don't know them as well, I have a mother-in-law or a father-in-law voice, that voice that it still's us, but it might feel a little bit more formal. And then, we've got the voice that we use with the people that are closest to us, and making sure that when you're writing that copy, it really hits the audience that you're intending to speak to. Again, you want to really think about what are the benefits. If you tell me that I should install your app because it's going to make you more money, probably not going to install that app. But you want to sell, like, why is the app the best way to shop? Is it because you go live in the app, and so they can check out, rewind, and they can, shop whenever it is convenient for them? Is it because it's just very easy to navigate? Do you do your first drops? Are those in are new arrivals released in your app before they are in your site? Think about all the benefits of installing your app, and you want to make sure you can articulate those very well to that audience, because again, it needs to be a compelling reason. Another kind of speaking on copy, one thing that we've been talking about internally with our team a lot recently is you want to make sure that when you're writing the description of your app, even for the App Store, it's very descriptive of who you are in your brand. As things are changing in the app space, things are changing in the marketing space. We know iOS 14 is kind of the beast and the elephant in the room, that we don't know exactly what it's going to look like long term. We do know that telling your story, being very descriptive is a good thing. Looking at possibly SEO in the App Store, looking at different ways to promote your app in the App Store, different channels that are going to come along, we know, to promote your app. You want to make sure that you know these things now, and that you know how to articulate them very well, because it's going to serve you very well in the long term. Again, a confused mind says, no, if I don't know why I should install this app, I'm probably not going to do it. So again, thinking, how do we sell this benefit? And then on the flip side, once they get the app on their phone, how do they use it? Make sure that, it doesn't just sit there on their phone, never used. You want to make sure that you're explaining, well, hey, this app is an easy way to shop. Literally, you're going to put those items in your cart. Checkout is super simple. Or, if you're, buying from lives, explain to them exactly how to buy, because we want to make sure that process is very smooth and simple. Sometimes we'll see with clients of ours, we'll see, the abandoned cart rate might be kind of high. And so we look at friction. What is causing that cart rate to be high? Or say we've gotten a ton of new app installs, but we're not getting conversions. Where's the problem? Are we not telling them how to use the app? Are we not sending enough push notifications? Making sure that along that process, we're noticing those areas of drop off, so we can address them and really fix any conversion issues along the way. So next, I want to talk about creative. When doing your app ads, there are a few different creatives that you can use. It's really interesting. It's kind of cyclical as far as the effectiveness. Well-branded images in Canva are a great start. You want to make sure, again, that it's a great reflection of who you are. Obviously, the colors, the fonts used, you want to make sure when they install that app and then they're looking at the app, they feel that continuous, that continuity as well. What we're seeing very effective right now is video. What I love about working with boutiques is because live sales are so popular and because fit videos are really popular, we know that most boutique owners or e-com owners feel pretty comfortable with going live or video. And honestly, sometimes I preach this very well. I don't always do it very well. So I know sometimes doing those videos can be hard, but we're seeing video views are incredibly effective right now. Again, what we love about video, we're seeing, Instagram is saying we're no longer really at photo sharing. We're really about videos. We're about reels. So if you can articulate well in a video why you should download our app, there are a lot of ways to use that. Not only are they going to install it right away, some of them, we can also retarget those video views, and that's really effective too. Another video that we're seeing really effective is how you should use our app. Again, like I said in the previous slide with copy, we want to make sure that they don't just install the app. If we can get an app install for $2, $3, $4, that's fantastic. But what we want to see is conversions. You can't deposit app installs. You can deposit that revenue that the app install brings. So we want to make sure that when we're doing these app installs, we're not just getting it on their phone. We're whether that's using the push notifications or using that how you should use our app video. These things can be really simple. Like, hey, I noticed and this again, we can segment this audience really well. Like, hey, this is Beth with Grit and Grace. I noticed you installed our app. We want to make sure you know how to use it. And just for you, we have an initial discount of 10% off. Talk a little bit about the benefits. That's all you have to do. But putting a face to the brand is really, really important. And you can do that with those videos. The next piece of this is just some this is some creative that we've, used for some of our clients that have worked really well. It doesn't have to be, extravagant, but it really just needs to be well branded and talk about downloading that app. A lot of times we'll talk about like, hey, this is a free app. We're not going to charge you anything. You can spend some money, but this is not going to cost you anything to install. Talking about budget, obviously budget, like I said, a lot of times when you're not used to spending money for customer acquisition, it's hard to know how much can I spend if I've never done this before. We always encourage people to work backwards, starting with your revenue goals. If you know how much you want to make from the app, you want to look, what is my average order in the app? If you're just starting with the app, you may not know that. So let's look at your average order value on your website and realize this could definitely increase with your app. You want to look at that lifetime value of your customer. So really work backwards to get to the point where you know how much you are willing to spend. If we know a customer costs, if you know that a customer a customer is worth a certain amount. I opened chat. I shouldn't have, because then we'll get to any questions after. But if I mess up my train of thought, I'm gonna get real confused here. So if you can work backwards, so let's try to use real numbers. So we know an average order value in the app is $75. Then we can work backwards. Okay, what are your cost of goods sold? If your cost of goods sold are $25, so it's $25, your markup is 3 times, it's a $75 order value. We want to make sure that we're well within that margin. For a first purchase, it's going to cost a little more. Like I said, cold traffic cost more and they take longer to convert. But you can work backwards and say, okay, if I spend $20 to get a new customer, I spent $25 in cost of goods sold. So I spent $45 to get a $75 order. That is very, very profitable, especially for new customer acquisition. If we look at the average lifetime value, so say it costs, say an average lifetime value for one of your customers is $400, and it costs, maybe $4 to get the app on their phone, and then a little bit for retargeting. Again, it's still a very profitable campaign. So you want to make sure that you are just paying really close attention to that. For example, as far as budget goes for app installs, we typically see those anywhere from $2 to $7. I'm going to be honest with you, there's a little volatility in that app install market right now. We saw costs go up a little bit more recently, and that is probably due to iOS 14 and the iOS, kind of Facebook is trying to figure this out. And so there's a little bit of volatility in that solely based app install market. It's still worth it. But I think that keeping an eye on those app install costs is going to be really important. Again, we typically see those between $2 to $7. If you're much higher than that, I'd definitely be reevaluating. Is there anything we can change in that creative copy in the audiences to make it a bit more effective? Or is it something where we need to, maybe pause those for a moment and look more at those other ads that I've talked about, where we're really pushing those app installs on the back end versus the front end. It is definitely about trial and error. Facebook ads are all about seeing what is the best copy creative to give you the very best bang for your buck. And that's sometimes a moving target. But my favorite part of working with clients is when we can feel like we've gotten to the point where we can really streamline and tell them this is how much it's costing you to acquire a new customer. And that's when it's time to scale. As long as those numbers make sense, that's when it's kind of like let's really build on what we know is making sense. So this is kind of an interesting part about the audience with Facebook ads. So there's a few different ways that you can do that. With app installs, the audience is typically a little bit broader. Sometimes we really narrow it down more to interests. I know one of the things Venkat had talked about in the beginning was, people running ads and getting people that are getting an audience that is not in their, maybe if you're based in the US and you're trying to reach people in the US and you're not doing that. You want to make sure that you do choose the US. You can do some geofencing too, that is going to help that as well. But one of the things that we typically do with our app installs is we do add some interest. We want to make sure we narrow down it a little bit. Facebook does typically historically optimize really well for installs as far as the audience goes. One thing that we encourage you to do if you do have a lot of app installs or you have a really great base already, is to create those lookalike audiences. To simply put, lookalike audience are basically us saying to Facebook, hey, these people love us, go find more people like them. Lookalike audience have historically proven very successful. We're seeing a little bit of some changes with that. Like I said, at Grit and Grace, I always say we are problem solvers because the reality is there are changes constantly in this marketing space. A lot of times it takes for us that bird's eye view of what is working for all of our clients so we can make adjustments. If we see something is struggling that used to work really well, we look for areas that are improving. We try to, share those tips with our audience as well and, keep in contact with Vajro because of that ever changing. Another option that you can choose with your app installs is the automatic app installs. They're another option. Automatic app installs are super basic. They can be a really great start if you don't have a lot of experience. With automatic app installs, it takes very little work on your part. You basically can set those up with the app install being the objective. You can, do a little bit of creative, and then Facebook really takes it from there. Because it is cold traffic, it will take a little bit longer to convert. A lookalike audience, although it's cold traffic, is really us saying, we're picking such a similar audience to who we already have. They typically do convert a little bit faster. With those automatic app installs, they take a little bit longer to convert, but if you can get them really affordably, and again, use those follow-up, whether that's an email or that's the push notifications or going live, you can take those low cost automatic app installs and they can become very, very valuable. It's a great way to build that base. So then when you're running retargeting ads to app users, you're really going to see that payoff. I know this is a lot of information and we want to make sure that we're, trying to touch base on, kind of that new user as well as somebody that might have a little bit of experience with running ads. One thing that I love about app installs is because it's such an effective tool, the app is, we see that app users, because they're high intent shoppers, when we retarget them, again, they're worth so much more. Historically, we have seen 2 to 3 times they are worth more than sending traffic to your site. And I hesitate to use these numbers because I feel like it seems like make-believe, but I promise we have screenshots to prove it. We've had app campaigns where we've been very, very intentional with clients in growing that app base. So making sure that, we're growing that app base really strong so that when we're ready to retarget, we see phenomenal numbers. Sometimes literally up to 40 times return on ad spend retargeting app users because that base is so strong. So when you look at Facebook ads, the reality is they are a marathon. They're not a sprint. We don't see that 40 times return, on that first campaign. But if you can grow your app base really strong, I love with Vajro, we can use deep links because they are a Shopify app. There's a lot of tools that we can use that are very, very strong. There are a lot of apps that we can kind of piggyback on. And I realize I still have a lot more to say, so let me keep moving on. So these are some steps that I want you to do right now. If you are not running ads with your Vajro app, do this immediately because we want to make sure that you're ready. If you're like, this is not in my budget for a little bit, but you know that it is going to be part of the plan. These are some of the steps that we want you to take right now. This is from our experience with working with a lot of Vajro clients. The first step, you want to add in all the features that you want on your Vajro app. You want to get that SDK. That's very important for your Facebook ads. If you don't have Rewind, add Rewind right now because it's such a great tool. It allows your customers to continue shopping. Google Analytics, anything that you want to add on your Vajro app, do do that before the next step, because this is going to require an app update. And if you can add those great features now, you're going to minimize those app updates, and it's going to, again, it's going to drop a little bit of friction. It's going to make it easier for your customers. So the next step, you're going to create your Face app ID. We're going to actually put together a PDF and send this to Venkat so we can distribute to everyone that's watching this, to give you some more, to put this right in front of you, and you can, do a little bit more to pay attention, while you're in the moment versus just taking notes. You want to create that Facebook app ID. We're going to give you some more steps with this too. This is where you want to go to do that. You want to make sure that you're adding Vajro's developer onto your, as an administrator, sending that app ID to Vajro, getting all those things set up. Because again, that's a really important first step. When you do that, then you're going to be able to track better. You're going to be able to retarget better. Again, that retargeting is incredibly important, and you want to make sure you have these steps done first. The next is, it's going to require an app update. So you can obviously choose, you're probably familiar with whether the force update or, reminding them when they open their app. We do prefer that force update. Some people may not take that step, but once you do the force update and they're using the newer version of the app, then we're able to use those tools. Again, the retargeting, the tracking their behavior, all the things that make this really effective. And then you're going to want to connect that Shopify catalog as well, because that's another really effective part of running Facebook ads. This is a lot of information and a lot was crammed into this last bit. But again, we're going to put together a PDF that we're going to see if Venkat can distribute to everyone to give you those steps, because those are incredibly important. Like I said, I really wanted you to come away with some things you can do right now. I would say that this, maybe take a screenshot right now if you want to do it today, but make sure that you are doing this. And then also I would say another really important step, regardless of when you're ready to run ads, is to get that copy together. Not necessarily copy for Facebook ads, but get very, very specific and articulate really well why people should be installing your app. You want to make sure it's a very compelling reason. When I first heard about apps with boutiques, it's been a few years, and I thought, is this really an effective way to grow your business? Are people going to install these apps? And what we see is two things. One, I looked at my own personal behavior and I realized almost every purchase I make is through an app, whether that's a big box store, whether that's my groceries, whether that's Amazon, whether that's Nordstrom, I am shopping an app. So we know consumers are using apps. And number two, we know it's an effective way, to grow that base. And again, to grow that base off of Facebook. So apps are going to continue to be a very important part of growing small businesses. I love that Vajro has made it accessible. It used to be, if you were going to, build an app, it was thousands and thousands of dollars. Now you can build these apps and have the amazing support of Vajro too. You can use these apps to grow your revenue. I love to see screenshots of revenue reports from Vajro users, because again, it's an incredible way to build your revenue. And that investment with Vajro, you can see an incredible return on your investment using these steps to get as many people on your app as possible. So I think that, just to kind of summarize and finish up, Facebook ads are a great way to grow your app installs. They can impact your bottom line. They can make a huge impact. You do want to make sure you're growing them fast and strong, and really using all the features possible, using those push notifications. I cannot preach that enough. Getting them in the app is really the first step. Building that relationship through app installs or through push notifications is incredibly important. If you wanted to reach out, our website is gritandgraceco.com. I'm always happy to answer questions. I love talking apps. I love talking business growth, but I also will going to find the questions so far and see how I can help right now as well. So for some reason, I'm not finding. Stop sharing them. Okay, so let's go and see. You could, if you have any questions right now too, please feel free to add those also. Okay, that's awesome, Bonnie.
Why don't
yes.
I put the, okay, yeah.
Well, Sherry asked a question if you want me to go there, or either way.
Yep. So let's get started with Sherry's question first.
Okay, so Sherry said, you said to make a video on how to use the app. Where do I put that video? Do you put that on the home screen? You can put that on the home screen. I think having a lot of information when they first open up is fantastic. You know, they've installed this app. You want to make sure the moment they open it, they know exactly how to shop. That's a really good thing. I would also, when I say to make the video on how to use the app, you can also post that on your page, and then you can either run that, you can pin that. I think that's a great pinned post, but you can also run that as an ad. You can run that as a promo. There are a few different ways, and I think that this probably gets a little bit, more technical, but you can definitely run that as an ad. I would put that how to use your app as many places as possible. Again, a confused mind says no. So if we can, teach them how to use the app really quickly, it's a good thing. Europe says for fashion, it's around 14 to 17. Honestly, we are seeing that install costs have gone up a little bit. In our market with fashion, we've been running app installs for quite a while now. We've seen costs as low as 70 cents per install, which is like mind blowing. And then we've seen installs, if they get much above 10 for us, that's when we're really looking to revamp. I think our across the board average is between $4 and $5. So, it really depends on your market, but we've, I would say that we have some amazing, I have an amazing partner and ads manager, and they do a great job getting those costs really low. So the next looks like Jules, $5 a day. I can't see the top of Jules' question. She said, with Facebook ads, my budget's $5 a day ending. After in the campaign, Facebook will continue to run ads. Then can you see the top of Jules' first question?
Which one is it?
It's at 12:41. Jules asked the question, but I can't open up the entire question. I can only see her second and third.
Okay, the first question is, she says she has a hard time with Facebook ads. Her budget's around $5 a day, and it ends at the end of the month. After I end the campaign, will Facebook continue to run ads? So that's the first question.
Okay, so it depends on, when you are, if you have set that to end, it will, you can continue depending on the results. The reality is $5 a day is hard for Facebook to test. I am a small business owner. I am, I think as an agency, we love to get a big bang for the buck as much as we can. The reality is sometimes it definitely takes a larger budget to get the results that you want to see. It takes time for Facebook to learn your audience, and $5 a day, depending on your objective. It's hard for me to say, what result you should see if you're growing again, it depends on that objective. Where do you get your email list for marketing? Typically, if you are getting conversions in Shopify, there is typically implied consent when someone has made a purchase with you, so you're able to continue that. In Shopify, you can set up some post-purchase. I definitely recommend having an email service provider as well. It is well worth the money. Then Kat, I don't know if you guys have one that you typically recommend, an email service provider, or I have some that I recommend, but I'm happy to, kind of stick with what Vajro recommends as well.
So, I don't think there isn't anything particular that we would like to recommend, or
okay.
No, nothing comes to my mind. No.
Yeah, if it integrates with Shopify, you're typically good to go. I do recommend, I think Klaviyo is amazing. OmniSend is great too. Klaviyo is great. You can track things so well. You can set up those abandoned cart emails, those post-purchase, all the things to then again drive that traffic to your app. So, and then the third with apps, honestly, as far as saturation goes, I think we're kind of in the heyday of apps. I think this is a great time to have one. It may be a situation where, you'll see customers want to limit the number of apps that they have on their phone. But I think that I would definitely encourage you to really adopt an abundance mindset, because there are so many consumers out there. And I think there's enough space for anyone that is willing to really run an app well. I think there's absolutely a market for it as well. And then let's see. Oh, right. You won't get a Facebook, right. You won't get an email address. That would be kind of a post-purchase. You can, like Venkat said, you can do that to a landing page. A lot with Facebook ads, there's a lot of different objectives you can choose. That objective really depends on your budget. It depends on your goals. It depends on your numbers too. The highest commitment, so the highest result typically is going to be the most expensive. For example, if you're going for conversions, if you want someone to spend money, you're probably going to spend the most money. We've seen examples, like we were actually just talking about a client recently, and she's having great prospecting campaigns, and her return is amazing on those versus, some of our other campaigns. So it is constant trial and error for sure. You're welcome, Bonnie. I'm so happy. It's really interesting. Bonnie said, this is helpful. I didn't think about Facebook ads for app installs. This is, definitely a newer kind of not market, but it's kind of a newer objective. And it's been really fun to see in the last year how it's made such an impact on our clients. And, again, when we can run those app installs, it's fantastic. So yes, so as far as the app ID, Becky, it's basically kind of connecting your Facebook ads manager with your Vajro app. And it's making sure then that's going to let you track purchases. And we'll send that, I'll get that PDF out because it explains it a little better. We were actually talking about that with my ads manager today to, the best way to explain that. But I think that's basically the gist of it is we just want to make sure that Facebook is tracking what's going on in your app. And that's probably the best way to put it. Thank you. I appreciate it. And so I've been using Facebook ads, but since iOS 13, it said my page has reached its conversion. I don't even know what that means. Can you explain that a little bit? What exactly they're saying it's reached its conversion as far as the app install, or do you mean conversion as far as the purchase? I'm not sure if he's still on or she's still on.
Mm-hmm. So I have a question, but in the meantime, Shira, elaborates on her question. This been something that I've seen a lot of our clients do. They run Facebook ads in seasons, right? Like they don't run Facebook ads continuously like we do. So I can't help but wonder if is that a good thing, or is that smart? I know it kind of works. Facebook ads work on, they stop working when you stop pumping money into them. So I kind of find the whole idea of running seasonal ads very interesting.
That's really an interesting question. And we have talked a lot about that recently. For example, we had a client that consistently did well. Her cold traffic, her prospecting was just fantastic. It was one of our great success stories. And she decided to pause her ads. She was not sure if she wanted to continue her business. And that's very, when you're running a small business, that's not atypical. And so we decided, we paused the ads, and then she said, I think I actually am going to continue. Let's turn those ads back on. And we turned them back on. And honestly, we struggled. And we had a really hard time getting back to the point that we were. So, my personal feeling is, even if you might modify the budget or you might modify that objective, Facebook is always learning. So one of the audiences that converts really well for us is like a lookalike audience of your past 30 to 60, 90 days conversions. And if you are not running ads and your conversions drop, Facebook has less data to go off of. And so, I think if you, obviously, we looked at July. If you ran ads in July, a little painful. That was a hard time to run ads. It was not the results that we wanted for our clients. I still think there was a purpose for them. I still think we're able to build on them. We're building app installs for fourth quarter. We're, strengthening the case for going into the holiday season. But I would say that I would still continue to run ads, continuously. Again, maybe change the objective. Maybe we're going after app installs. Maybe we're lowering our budget. But I think, to me, I saw the trouble that caused, and that was a hard rebound. And now we're scrambling to say, we're seeing what worked before didn't. What are we going to do to, rebound from this? So.
Pretty sure it's in that list of 10 Facebook ads commandments.
Right.
Thou shalt not
There's
stop running ads.
Yes. And I mean, it, because things change so often, it is hard to rebound from that. And, you've put all this money, time, and effort in building this. And then all of a sudden, you're going to have to pivot regardless. We're going to see things that worked yesterday, didn't work today, or worked in June, didn't work today. But I think you will struggle even more. And I think too, just to kind of piggyback on that really quickly, one of the things that I think is the most important in marketing is isolating the effect. So, we're running ads or we're doing something and it's working really well. Why is it working well? If we make some small changes and we see it works better, then we can isolate what's going on and we know what's going to affect the bottom line. If we stop ads completely, we restart and it's not going well, we don't know why. We didn't make small, subtle changes. We made a total drop off and then we have to start from scratch. And that just costs, it's a lot of time and money and effort and, and tears. It is. And, we want that data. We want to be able to use data and, that definitely helps. So as far as, I'm not sure what it means, it's saying you can't run ads. I do honestly, we're seeing with iOS, I don't know if it's app installs you're going after or conversions. iOS 14 is throwing us for a loop. App installs with iOS 14, we're kind of pausing a lot of those because they're not working. So we are seeing heavily on the Android side. We anticipate that this is going to settle down pretty quickly. And, it may be that we're, another platform opens that. That's kind of what we're anticipating. Or it may be that, looking for different ways to market that app is going to be, really important too. And again, it goes back to that problem solving. I think sometimes people look at this, in this uncertainty, is this the time to use an agency? And I'm not selling our services, but I'm saying, when you have an agency or a partner, or you have Vajro leading the way, they get to know, like, what are the difficulties and how are we going to, how are we going to troubleshoot these? How are we going to make this product better? I had a client, I actually did a whole speech on pivot or panic because we had a client say that. And it's true, when iOS 14 hit, I own a Facebook ads agency and we've got iOS 14 to deal with. And, it is, our tendency can be to be, the sky is falling. But we know when big problems happen, there's going to be a solution. Some people are going to peace out. Some people are going to not look for the solution. But I know, in working with Vajro, when these changes come, they're on top of it. They're looking for the solution. Us at Grit and Grace, we spend a lot of time. What is the thing that's going to put our clients ahead of the game? So.
Exactly. That was, interestingly enough, that was one of the reasons why we kind of wanted to do the whole thing. iOS 14 update has thrown us all on a loop, and
absolutely,
that is kind of what led to the whole, one webinar
series.
A month. Yeah.
Yeah, it's giving people, different tools. And, it's an illustration again of don't put all your eggs in one basket. I know that can be overwhelming as a small business owner because there's a lot of things to do, but we see when you use this well. I don't know if everyone can see the chat, but Bonnie said having an app is so critical. My Facebook profile has been deleted. She has no access to her 20,000 followers. I know that is not an unusual story. Again, Facebook can be an amazing part of your business, but she said, so when this happened with Facebook, I started going live on my app. But it is, I know, Bonnie, that is a really hard, I'm so sorry that happened to you. That's a really hard thing to go through, when you've worked so hard to grow followers. And again, that's what we love, those, app users, because, Vajro is not going to delete your app, right, Venkat? They're not going to delete it. So see, somebody else is saying that too, more than it is not an uncommon story to have to start over with Facebook. And, not Facebook is a great tool, but it's a volatile tool. And, when you're playing, we do a lot with messenger marketing, and we were actually built on messenger marketing. And it's, one of those things where you are playing in somebody else's playground. You have to play by their rules. You have to, if they want to kick you out, they're going to kick you out. And so, building an audience outside of that will serve you really well. Those are painful lessons to learn, but.
That is so True, Elizabeth, right? So, you spend all the time and effort and, building all these followers, and then bam, Facebook takes them out.
Right.
Mhm.
Well, and even, I've seen, again, I think it's very tempting when running ads to grow our Facebook page. And, what Facebook pages have become is vanity metrics.
Mhm.
We have a lot of Facebook page followers. Reach is really, really hard. So, when we look at the app installs and that as the objective, we know it's just very effective. I look at my boutique, and I started in 2013. When I was growing followers, you could grow them like this and they saw everything you posted. And we know that's just not true anymore. So that app is such an effective way to communicate with your audience and going live and building the relationships. And it's so important.
Absolutely, yeah. Do we have more questions? I've completely lost track of time. We are.
I know that happens. I thought I'm not going to be able to talk for 45 minutes, and that was silly.
Kind of like the calls that we used to have, while
Yes.
setting this whole thing up, right? So
yes.
Yep. So if we aren't getting any more questions, let's wind up for today.
Sounds good.
Thank you so much, Elizabeth, for
Yes.
it was amazing, and thank you so much, guys, for staying until the end. We'll be sending you a recorded version so that you can rewatch it at your leisure. So have a wonderful day.
Yes, have a wonderful day. Thank you.
Yeah, and you have a wonderful evening, Elizabeth.
Thank you.
All right. Yeah. Bye-bye.